I'm here now with Peggy Kellers. Peggy is a resident here, and she is the representative of Green Spring on the board of directors for Green Spring. Welcome, Peggy.
Thank you, Fran.
You're here, and now you've been about a year as a director?
About a half a year. I started in June.
Oh, okay.
After Roy O'Connor resigned.
Okay. I couldn't remember when that happened, but
It's
yeah.
all running together.
Yeah, it does. All right, so you know, some of the things that we know about the board of directors is it just well, what we know is somewhat vague, okay? So I guess I want to know. So what do you do for us?
Okay.
How do you represent us?
We have a lot of legal responsibilities based on the federal laws and based on the agreements here. So there are three main areas that we're responsible for. One is financial oversight, and that's a big one. One is management oversight, another big one. And the third one, and probably the most important, is the resident and care agreement. We're responsible to make sure that that is maintained and followed. So I'll give you a couple examples. In the financial oversight area, as you know, we just finished our town hall with the fee increase for this year. So that just came in our monthly bill. And so we're responsible for approving what the management suggests as not only the expenses for the following year, but also then what that means for the fee increase. Right now, because the financial year is over for 2019, all of our finances, once they're finalized this month, they'll go to an auditor. And that auditor will be outside, independent of our board, which is the smart way to do it. And then our board is part of the audit committee. So I'm going to start looking at those audited statements when they come back to us. And then the residents hear that at our May meeting when the Community Relations Committee, which is another piece, but it's Jackson Bain, Eileen Erstad, and me, when we have our town hall meeting on what happened in 2019. So the audit process, is really an important process, and we don't want the residents to be kept in the dark. So any year, once the audited financial statements are out, they become available to the residents. And those are always in the administration office where you can go in and see them. The second area, management oversight, we're currently doing this right now. We take the resident satisfaction survey and the employee engagement survey, which is done in the fall, and we now look at those results. In fact, that's what I'm doing the last 2 weeks. I'm looking at not only the statistics that came out, but I'm also looking at all the comments. And as you can imagine, that's an extensive process. What we're trying to do is see themes, see areas of strengths, areas of weakness, and that kind of thing. And then we have a matrix that we use to be able to consolidate that information and be able to put it into a summary. And then we get together with Chandra Kumar to evaluate what went on. Now, last year, Roy would have done this management performance evaluation, and then he would have been part of the approval process for the action plans that the staff comes up with. So that's all happening right now. So this next quarter is a pretty busy quarter for the board. Then the third area is the resident and care agreement. And as you know, we're very concerned about the current residents, that they're having a positive experience, that things are being followed through on and that kind of thing. But we're also looking at what the future residents may want or the care given there. And so one of the areas that's very important to us is being sure that residents know and they feel secure that they are going to be able to live here for the rest of their life, no matter what their finances are like. And so we have the Benevolent Care Fund, which is really important. And the board, each member of the board actually contributes to the the care fund, the Benevolent Care Fund. And that's an expectation as a board member. And then we also have residents who donate, and we also have, fundraisers, like I think there was a dollhouse raffle.
I didn't win.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I guess I didn't because I never got a call.
So we have, and Kimberly Nelson does a real good job with just fashion shows, and that profit goes to either the scholars or the benevolent care. And then, of course, our treasure chest, which is now open, those funds go into the benevolent care and to the scholars fund. So as a board, we're always looking out for making sure that, the residents have a safe, secure place to live, and that it is following the agreement.
When you're talking about the agreement, you're talking not about individual persons' agreements.
Right. You mean like the apartment that they bought?
That's correct.
Yes.
That kind of agreement we signed when we moved in.
Yes, your contract. No, we each get a copy of the resident in care agreement.
Right.
And that's a fairly extensive document.
Right, it is.
And so that's Greenspring saying, this is what you can expect.
Yeah, I just wanted to clarify.
That's a good point.
We're not talking about my agreement that
No.
I signed 17 years ago. Okay.
No.
Okay, that was, it is called a care agreement, I believe.
I believe so,
Or
but
maybe not. Maybe,
no,
I haven't looked at the
I think it's a
title.
contract, right. I think it's a contract for when you rent your apartment, the down payment, the monthly
Yeah, and all
fee,
that
that kind of
business,
thing.
and what
Right.
the refund would be and all
Yes,
that
that's
business.
right.
That's different from what
Yes.
you're speaking.
Now, speaking of the refund, the board would have been the one that suggested and then approved the change in 2013 when we went from a 100% refund to a 90% refund. So those residents that came in at 2013 or later, they're on a 90%, whereas you
Correct.
and others are on 100%. So that would have been an arrangement that the board would have first of all studied. Is this the most effective use of our finances, and is this of benefit to the residents and to the staff?
Wow. I'm drifting off in my thought because it made me think of something, but we'll bring it up if we have time.
Okay.
Okay, so the other piece now, we talked about the agreement, and you kind of gave us the finances. This whole, the management, the Community Relations Committee.
Okay.
Now, those folks that you named are residents. I mean,
No.
they're board
with the exception
board
of
members.
me. I'm the director living in community.
Yeah.
And then our board is chaired by Jackson Bain.
Okay.
And then the second person is Eileen Erstad. Now, those people are not only on the Greenspring TV. You see the three of us. We're on the bulletin board. And then you saw us in December at the town hall, and you'll see us again in May.
Now, is that area just one of the areas that you could have been a part of in the overall board? I mean, is it broken down into different jobs?
Oh, okay, that's a good question. All right, each community of the 16 Erickson living communities have their own board. So we have our Greenspring Board of Directors. Within each community, they have a CRC, Community Relations Committee. So
Okay.
Jackson is our chair. Eileen is chair at Ashby Ponds.
I see.
And
Okay.
Jackson is under her.
Okay.
So those three roles, including the director living in community, are significant because we're kind of we're the face of the board to the residents, right, and to the management. So we're responsible, for example, for writing the management performance evaluation, going through all those, checking the action plans and that kind of thing. Many of the board members are on one of the advisory committees. So, for example, there may be one or two on our board that are on the Budget and Finance Committee. There may be one or two that are on the Governance Committee, the Diversity and Inclusion Committee.
Right.
So
That's what I was
believe we have
wondering,
8
if
committees.
this was one of those.
Yes, it is a responsibility,
Okay.
and it is one role.
Okay.
Now, we're fortunate to have Eileen Erstad, for example. She's going to become the chair, the overall chair of the Budget and Finance Committee, in addition to being on our CRC. Jackson Bain is the chair of our Communications Committee. This is an advisory committee, in addition to being chair of our CRC. so far, I haven't gotten an appointment because I'm still in my probationary period.
Sure,
and
sure.
so that may come.
Yeah.
Roy O'Connor, our last director
Yeah.
living in community, was on the investment committee, and he continued in that role
Yeah.
on the investment committee. So I think everyone on the board has a specific role.
Right.
And then many times you're grouped with other people
Sure,
to
sure.
fulfill.
It gives input from many things.
Yes.
You know, if I have a question.
Go ahead.
All right. Just the other day, we got a notice here at Green Spring that, oh, we're going to close down the copy center. Did the board of directors have any input in that at all? Because I, as a resident, was never asked my opinion or whatever.
Okay,
you
that's
know,
a good example.
I want to know,
Right.
who decided that? It's a terrible inconvenience. We're offered a fee for service. We're willing to pay the fees, and they're closing down something that's just a total convenience for groups and individuals who live here.
Okay.
And frankly, I'm annoyed.
Okay.
But anyway.
Well, that's a good question. Thank you. That's actually a good example. So our board is the governance role. We hire Erickson Living to manage the day-to-day operations. So they have autonomy in making decisions like that. We would not have necessarily had official input, but the CRC would have known about, this is what we're thinking, this is why we're thinking about it, this is what we're doing in lieu of it, and that kind of thing. But as far as making the actual decision, that would have been Chandra Kumar and her team. So that's a very good example of the ownership that Erickson Living has in making the day-to-day management decisions versus the policy kinds of decisions that the board makes. For example, when in the budget, we have a strict budget policy. What are we going to do with the leftover cash at the end of the year, you know, that we have accrued? So
sure.
we have the policy that it goes to certain reserves.
Well, it's troubling to hear that, actually, all of that, because it does then verify that what happens at Green Spring is often just a bottom line. If it's not earning enough money, then we do away with it. That's what we talk
perception.
about around the dinner table.
And that's a perception.
Yeah.
So, and I know what went on as far as making that decision.
Yeah, I wished we knew.
Well, maybe you will. Maybe at the coffee they'll do that.
I think it's important for residents to know what went into that decision. Who?
Because it wasn't an overnight decision.
Well, obviously, because it started
studies.
months before when they cut the hours. The next thing is they raise the prices, and then here we are. Now, we're going to close it all together. Very annoying. Listen, I've made us run out of time, and I hope I didn't take up too much of your time.
No.
Because I did think it was important to at least get it on the, you know. Listen, thank you very much,
welcome,
Peggy.
Fran.
You're going to have more to do when you come back again, I'm sure.